Rallied from a 13-point second-half deficit to beat Pittsburgh on the road for their first win of the season. The Steelers went for it on fourth down twice in overtime, but couldn't convert. Justin Tucker made a 52-yard field goal with 5:08 left in OT to give the Ravens a 23-20 victory. We welcome in now former Steeler Ryan Clark. Good day. Always good to see you, my friend.
Good to be here.
And we were watching you last night on SportsCenter, and you were taking this pretty hard. I got to tell you.
It was tough.
It was rough, right?
It's tough to watch. It was entertaining. But if you have friends and teammates and obviously a coach that's a good friend of yours, take a loss like that, it's hard to watch.
I think Stephen A. seconds that. Who's most responsible for this loss, though, by the Steelers?
You have to be extremely fair in this, even in my position, which is hard for me because you have attachments to these people. If I was stepping on here to talk about any other football team in the NFL who made this many mistakes and who basically gave a football game away, the ultimate result of that would be blaming the head coach. The head coach is in charge of all of these things. If a team wins a Super Bowl, the head coach and the quarterback, they get a lot of the praise. So in this situation, you have to put some of this on Mike Tomlin, on being the final decision maker in many of these situations. Now, whenever you get into a game, there's many people you can blame. Obviously, if I have Le'Veon Bell, who on fourth downs, 2 or fewer yards, leads the league in conversion percentage, maybe he gets the ball for me on the last 2 fourth downs in overtime.
Yep.
So then you say, is Todd Haley to blame? Todd Haley has a part in this, but in the end of that, Mike Tomlin has the veto power.
I would think
you take time out, you can say, hey, Todd, I want you to run this play through Le'Veon Bell. I also know through being in that facility, through being in that organization with Coach T, he stays out a lot of those decisions. You know, it was never a situation where he walked down to Coach LeBeau, hey, I want you to blitz. When Bruce Arians was making calls, he wouldn't walk down, hey, this is what I want to happen here. He delegates. He's a good head coach because he knows how to delegate jobs and give the people who he hires full ability, responsibility, and accountability to make those calls. You can also look Josh Scobie. You know, he's a guy you trade for. You lose Sean Sweesham, a 49-yarder or 41-yarder. It's extremely difficult to kick in Pittsburgh, especially going down to that end. They've added a new screen there, so maybe it's a little different with the wind coming off the water. But it's a tough place to kick. But you have to make those kicks. So I think the game, in so many areas, the blame can be placed out play to play, person to person, but in the end and ultimately, it falls on the head and the hands of Coach Tomlin.
Appreciate you saying that. Stephen A.
Oh, please. We all know that, but Ryan Clark said it best, and he said it best last night. Although the head coach has veto power, Mike Tomlin, you said 2 things. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan Clark. You said that Mike Tomlin never really went into the defensive room to interfere with what Dick LeBeau was doing when he was defense coordinator, correct?
He did not.
And then you said, if I remember correctly, Todd Haley has earned that kind of cachet.
Yes.
Because he's been there. So my point is, if he's earned that kind of cachet, and you said that's what Mike Tomlin did with Dick LeBeau, then chances are he did the same thing with Todd Haley. Which means that when Le'Veon Bell does not touch the ball in overtime on 2 pivotal occasions, that says to me, that has Todd Haley written all over it. That's all I'm trying to say.
I knew you were going to be fired up about that after yesterday.
That's right. That's right. And I mean it. He bothers me, man. He really, really bothers me because I am not questioning his football acumen. I am not questioning his intelligence. I am questioning his agenda. I think that at pivotal moments, Todd Haley is caught up in trying to prove that he should still be a head coach. And so he tries to make the simple spectacular so he can find himself in a position where he'll get credit for what ultimately transpires, which is why half the time the damn thing hasn't worked since he arrived in Pittsburgh. Boy, do I miss Bruce Arians. Boy, I really, really miss that man. I really do. I really wish that he was back in Pittsburgh because I don't think this kind of nonsense would be taking place. Of course, it ultimately falls on the head coach. The buck stops with the boss. We know that. But yeah, whether it's Scobie, Scrubby, Scooby-Doo, and how he missed his 2 field goals, or it's Todd Haley trying to be, adventurous, Mr. Boy Genius in the AFC, I think his fingerprints are written all over this. And that's why I got a problem with it. Le'Veon Bell, 2 4th-and-1 situations, and you don't get him the ball? That's just disgraceful. It's just disgraceful. I don't care what anybody says.
Reminded me of the Super Bowl.
So here I am.
Nothing was that bad. Nothing was as bad as Pete Carroll not giving the ball to
teasing.
Nothing was that bad. All right.
So here I'm dealing with an ex-Steeler whose heart is still in Pittsburgh, and I don't blame you for that. And I'm dealing with a real Steeler fan who's also a fake Giant fan, but we figured that out on the show.
That.
He's a faux fan. That's what I call him, faux fan.
Then when they
Whatever,
win the
the both
NFC
of
East,
y'all.
he can't
Okay.
be excited.
Spare me.
Okay, all
Miss
right.
Connecticut and Mr. Oklahoma City. Y'all can step
Okay.
back.
Now
Fall back.
Back to the
Love
question. We don't know the answer to this. That's why this question is so tough to answer. But to your point, all the coaches I covered, the head coaches, and it's a long list, they all had veto power in this situation. 4th and short in overtime or some critical moment in the game where you have a timeout and you have a chance to listen on the headset to what play might be called. And most coaches wanted to be able to say, I want you to run it or throw it, and then you pick the play. Or I want the ball in so-and-so's hands on this play. Let's make sure so-and-so touches the football. I don't know this, but I told you the other day when we talked about this. I think we talked about it twice. Clearly, Mike Tomlin loves Michael Vick, and I don't blame him for that. He respects him. He went out and brought him to Pittsburgh when maybe nobody would have given him one last hurrah. And it seemed to me that last night, Mike Tomlin wanted the ball in Michael Vick's hands in those key moments. Michael Vick on a lot of Monday nights in the past has lit it up. He played a sensational first half. Then either he might have run out of gas a little bit on conditioning, but he lost some of his accuracy through the second half. So he had lost his flow, you might say. So I'm not sure I would have put the ball in his hands when you're telling me you got Le'Veon Bell. Meaning, like you said, short yardage, there's nobody better than him. His patience, his ability to wait and look and pick the hole, it's virtually unstoppable for a yard and a half. So I get what you're saying about Le'Veon, but ultimately I think Mike Tomlin said, let's let Michael have this play. And Michael still's got some jets to him. I thought in the first half when he took off a couple times, I was like, wow, he can still move, man. And his arm strength is great. The accuracy was starting to fade a little bit. And then I told Stephen A. earlier, I question the fact that you try to throw that route to Antonio, who's about, is he 5'10", or it's hard. And so the pass is a little wild high. It's not like you got somebody who can go up and snatch it, right?
Well, I think, though, the reason you throw it to Antonio, because besides Julio Jones, he's the guy wrecking the league more than anybody at that position.
No
so
doubt.
I was more upset about if anybody's going to run the ball, it's 26.
Yeah.
Don't split him out to block outside and have Mike Vick try to run around the end. So if you're going to run the ball, go with Le'Veon Bell. But I don't have a problem with the pass because Antonio Brown is so good. I mean, his streak for 35 games of 5 catches, 50 yards ended last night, partly because of inaccuracy. He had a long drop. I just feel like I don't mind that play as much, but I just feel like when you come off of Mike Vick running the ball and not getting it, I feel like you have a meeting of the minds on the sideline and say, hey, guys, listen here. The first time didn't work. We tried to be tricky. We tried something new. And I understand what Stephen A. is saying. I actually thought about him when they had those 2 plays because I knew what he would say is that Todd Haley's trying to earn a job on these 2 plays. You have to look at the situation and say, listen, 26 is the best all-around running back in the league.
If you want to earn a job, you give it to 26.
You win.
Right?
You win games.
That's what I do.
And I also do know, though, from having Bruce Arians in the building, we threw the ball a lot. We threw it downfield, and the Pittsburgh Steelers way was running the football, and it would come from up top. The Rooney's just the organization, the media around. They wanted to see Bruce Arians run the football. And I don't know if Mike T and Bruce ever had that conversation, but it never happened. It never materialized. And I think a large part of that was Coach Tomlin not going to him in games and saying, you know what, you run it here or you run it now. He allows his coaches freedom. He allows them to grow. And I think that's a huge reason why people want to coach for him.
I agree. Go ahead, Stephen A.
My issue is that, let me get back to Todd Haley, because I'm not going to lie to
I'm
you.
shocked.
I will confess on this day, I'm not interested in a damn thing anybody has to say about last night's game that doesn't include Todd Haley.
Okay.
We understand that Mike Tomlin lets his coaches coach. Whip-de-damn-do. So what? I mean, ultimately, he has the veto power, and we get that. I understand that. I also understand that from a play scheme perspective, Todd Haley made the right play. I got news for you. Ryan Clark, Skip Bayless. When I was hosting NFL Live for a couple of days a few months ago, Tim Hasselbeck literally sat there and highlighted, you know how y'all do, Ryan, how y'all do, I forgot what it's called, it's Telegram, whatever it is, where you're just highlighting the telestrate. Yeah, that's what it is, right? Yeah. The telestrate. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Right, and he telestrated how the right play was called by Darrell Bevell and Pete Carroll in Seattle, and the play was actually a perfect call. I said, who the hell's arguing that? You make a very valid point. But everybody and their grandmama knows with 20 seconds on second down with a Super Bowl title on the line, you give the ball a beast mode. Because even though you know that the ball is going to him, what you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So when we talk about Le'Veon Bell, what you gonna do about it? Now, if you want to go away from it, it's because you're trying to show your brilliance. And when you saw it cost that franchise a Super Bowl championship, okay, why in God's name would you be in overtime with 1 yard to go on fourth down with a brother that's running for 129 yards, who is the best player on your team and universally recognized as the best all-around back in football, and you don't find a way to get this man the ball? It can only be one reason. And that one reason is you want to show how brilliant you are. If anybody fits that stereotype, it's Todd Haley. That's like, I mean, when you talk about him trying to step out, that's like saying, you know what, Stephen A's an opinionated dude. Duh. Who the hell doesn't know that? That's Todd Haley. It's who he is. It's who he is. I want it to be about me. I want to show the world that I know what I'm doing. That's what this was about, and it cost them last. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay.
I don't care what anybody says.
Okay, so that's enough about that guy, but I also have to defend against this frustrated Steeler fan, Josh Scrubby, as he calls him. As you well know, you pointed,
Scooby-Doo.
whatever he is, right? I'm going to repeat this stat again. Since Heinz Field opened in 2001, from 50-plus yards, only 28.6% have been made from 50 or long, because it's the hardest place to kick in the league. So he tried one from 49. That's going to be pretty iffy, and it didn't make it. And then he tried one from 41. I'm going to give that about a 50-50 shot, and he missed it, even though Josh Scobie in his career is 5 for 5 in walk-off kicks, in game winners, last-minute kicks. 5 for 5.
He's missed more field goals than anybody since the start of the 2014 season. And he's missed 4 field goals already this year. I don't want to hear about that.
Yeah.
Don't give me that percentage. What have you done for me lately?
Is Justin Tucker not the best kicker in pro football? He's the best. He's the best clutch kicker in pro football.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
It wasn't a doubt off his foot the last two.
He had a little wind with him that way.
Ryan Clark. Scobie, Scrubby, Scooby-Doo should not have taken the job in Pittsburgh, because the stat that Skip brought up, he knew about that before he took the damn job. He should have stayed behind in Jacksonville. He should have stayed behind in Jacksonville or sat out and not showed up in Pittsburgh. Right. You know what the job description is. It's all he does. It's all he does. Why? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's all he does. Kick the ball. You don't do anything else.
Be nice. You're just angry. You're being.
I felt bad. I really felt bad for him post game. It's tough.
Really?
It's tough.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's tough.
I do too.
It's a hard job.
I felt bad
I don't
for
want
him.
to be a
too.
kicker.
We all feel bad for him. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. We're going to get this passion from Skip Bayless in the next topic, because we're talking about his Cowboys.
Do we have to?
Yes, they're heading to New Orleans. Will their D be better this week? Will they get the win? We'll get into that on the other side of the break.